All right, welcome to another episode of the Fat Cats Rugby podcast. Something has just dropped from the sky, and it has found where it needs to be.
This is yours, Edwin. You're a legends guy.
My allegiance with Cubs ended a long time ago.
Bruno, looking at the fabric and the color of this jersey and everything, doesn't it look? It looks like it would look good on you. What do you think?
I've never been a blue person. Not even blues.
Not even in your previous life.
I don't even get Monday blues.
Hey. Okay, but ideally you need to don that, but we shall do that after the break. However, my name is Ruben Kihumuro, Edwin Wawiri, and Bruno Akampa, the man that loses bets, is here. So if you're ever betting and Bruno is on your side, know that bet is dead. Yeah. And with us today, we have Daniel Avasa, another man who's probably trying to heal from the weekend, but we'll hear from him about how his weekend was and how he was able to...
I came for therapy. Therapy session.
Daniel, welcome.
Thank you very much.
How was the weekend? Tell us, how was your experience of the weekend? We know that Kings Park was there. We've had people that complained that you guys instructed all the people there, the beautiful ones especially, not to interact with anyone because of the loss.
No.
They were saying it was a gloomy experience.
I think even the ladies themselves were having a very bad day themselves. So I don't think it was us who decided for them. A very welcoming group of people at Kings Park. The weekend was up and down. It was up and down, but mostly down. And, we wake up and we try again. I believe that's the idea.
We are now in the middle of this new week. What is your biggest recollection about the weekend for you, about that game in particular?
Yeah, there are too many. You see, when you lose, especially the big ones, you tend to think about every section of the game. And of course, with hindsight, a lot of things you always think, what if this had happened, or how can we correct this or the other? But as I had noted earlier during the week, when I was on radio, games with Pirates and Cubs have been known to be games of fine margins. So it's always the small, minute details that cause someone to win or someone to lose. If you remember last year at Chadondo, at Legends, it was a knock-on by Derek Twasibwe. This year, it was again a knock-on by Alex. Both times, the teams were in a sin bin. Both times, time was up. Last year, when we were at Kings Park, remember, it was wind. People said we have our own wind, but there was wind and the ball fell. And then we got a penalty, which Magomu then converted. So it's always those very fine details. So I wouldn't pick one part of the weekend to say this was the highlight of it. But all in all, it was a good game of rugby. For neutrals, they must have had a lot of fun watching that game.
Okay. Edwin, you were with me. You usually say, you've actually just said right now that your allegiance with Cubs ended a long time ago. But in some of the clips that we have on social media, you are very happy. So I don't understand.
He was even in the Cubs stands.
Claude was pinching me. You did cover the other side of the video. Claude had pinched me and said, stay here. And then for one odd reason or another, I was putting on a blue jersey. I also don't know what happened to me that they are supposed to put on yellow, but I really need a wardrobe makeover. I need some more yellow clothes in my wardrobe. But that one ended. It's a chapter that I put behind me. I'm now a yellow man, and it's just unfortunate as pictured in with people who are celebrating a small win. But anyway, regardless.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to just raise that microphone a little bit so that it points above. But anyway, Bruno, you have been trending for a few days, and on Saturday you were looked for by very many people, to the extent that you pretended to be in the team talk down with the team for like 2 hours. You didn't want to leave the pitch because you didn't want to face people. Tell us how the rest of your Saturday night was.
I wasn't pretending to be in the team talk. I always go anyway, even after winning. But it was a tough one. I reached KPA early in the morning, like at 9.
Okay.
And I left at 9:30, so I was there for like 12 and a half hours. I wanted to watch the other games, the Sailors, Black Pearls, but immediately after the Black Pearls win, malaria caught me.
Okay.
Unique, it had never happened to me.
Was it malaria or it was because of the situation?
I hadn't taken beer. I couldn't take it because it's Lent. I was like, no.
And you didn't even give us weekend girlfriend
Zero. You couldn't.
I took over.
Yeah, we took over. I also dropped some weekend boyfriend tweets from the woman's point of view.
I got malaria and just went to the bush. I watched the game alone, if you guys saw me. I was at some point. Then Joseph Oyet came. I pushed again. He just told me, go jump for pressure. But it was a nice game. Started off well, of course. Pirates tries coming through. It was a nice game for Alex Atrinda. For all the games he has played. He hasn't played, I think, 2 games. He was away for 2 weekends because of exams. But he has been the highlight of almost every Pirates game he has started. Some life, but then the Cobs were fine, to be honest. The attack was way up there. Pirates were also attacking very well, but at some point now Pirates faced a better defense than Cobs were getting, which to me explains the flare that Casito made with the runs from all the way from the back. Then he has to offload to almost in the opponent's box. At the end of the day, I think the boys that made a better decision and also not give up to the end took the game. Ian Munyani's try. You can realize if you've watched the clip or remember the build up to that try, it was all brilliance from the start, away from the back. Of course, it made the fine wine, Lawrence Wakabi, who made me think about the last time Conrad Wanyama missed a tackle. I don't even remember. That explains how fine Wakabi is and how I was in some group where a guy was talking about, was amazed by Wakabi playing rugby that he was playing in Senior 5 when he was in Senior 5 in 2006. He still plays it, doesn't give up. 80th minute, if I can even bet my money, he would still play the other minutes that we witnessed, the extra minutes that we had in Uganda Cup.
You'd have played them.
It's just so good. So nice build up to that try. It made a captain, of course, who is also good. Ian. You also credit, of course, Juko for that offload, which was timely. Just offload. It's a super rugby offload. Offload even when you are being tackled to the right guy and he makes a run. So the ugly thing about, I see you holding a shot.
You seem like you're cold.
It's
want to give you an extra
It was
shot.
so ugly. Even after the game, of course, I went to console my players and all, but I remembered I lost a wager. And now, even after during the team talk, looking around in the stand, everyone was looking for me. Dexter was leading the gang. He was fighting for his jersey to be worn even that very day. He was telling me, man, wear my jersey, it fits you, I'm sure. Same size. Wear it now, bring your phone. Let's first relax.
So anyway, let's just talk a little bit about the Fred and Winnie BnB.
Yeah.
Looking at the compound, the serenity of all this, and how beautiful the place has been. I mean, Edwin, just walk us through what people really need to know about the Fred and Winnie BnB for this time period, what they can book as we're entering March. I mean, Women's Month, Women's Day, what offers the women should look out for? Just walk us through that.
Yeah, time to show a woman some love. This women's Women's March month, where the women can be able to be hosted at Fred Winnie BnB. As Ruben always says, it's a standard 10-room facility with plenty of amenities involved, like a kitchen with the chef. We soon will upload the chef doing his David Dennis Ombachi kind of thinly sliced done with time. Yeah, the aspect of parking is also important, and security. There's plenty of security around the residence where you are most certainly safe and secure, with 24-hour surveillance and a security man at the gate. I think another thing that is very important is the aspect of the peace and serenity. Don't let that border noise fool you. On the other side of the residence, there is plenty of serenity where you could have access to the gardens and have a seat, drink your favorite coffee, catch up with your favorite newspaper, catch up on your online business. There's plenty of fauna in the gardens, a lot of plants and flowers that give you a touch of a serene environment as opposed to the hustle and bustle of Kampala city. And then also the hosts themselves are very accommodative and friendly, and you have staff who cater for all your needs at the same time. Power backup system that can always help you continue your operations, work, your relaxation. You know how Meme can be. And then maybe lastly is that there is also a Wi-Fi supply that can always adequately accommodate your internet needs.
Yeah, definitely. We will be having the contact information that you will need on the screen, and also for those listening in, it will be in the description. So just get in touch and get those offers, especially with Women's Day and Women's Month coming around. Treat a woman to something nice. Treat that lady in your life. And as you see, we are back from the advert. Isn't he smart, guys?
Looks
he looks
terrible.
smart.
He's
too.
very
Looks
painful.
dapper.
No,
Blue. You bleed blue.
I've never felt this weird in my life.
I've never felt weird looking at you like this in my life.
Bro,
you feel like
I hope this footage
I
is
feel
cut
like
out.
being swallowed by the ground, man.
they'll disinfect you. They need to disinfect you on Saturday at Kings Park. Take all those pests of cobs off you.
1963.
Yeah.
Even before NRM.
Hey.
Right after independence. That's
Yeah, guys are old.
Anyway, while Bruno is sitting there looking very, very smart, Edwin, the one thing we talked about prior to the ad was Lawrence Wakabi. Yourself and me, we have had the opportunity to actually watch him from high school. What are your thoughts about Lawrence Wakabi, having seen him on the weekend and knowing what he was capable of?
Yeah, I think I'll go back to when the first time I saw him, where he, I think at the beginning, was it the game against Mongas, where he was listed on the team sheet for Cobs as a sub, and I was like, oh, okay, this guy is really back. This is odd. This is something unique. And I think there was a game, I think I was going to watch a Heathens game, and I was like, I wish I could have passed by Legends to see this guy, because he has all these kind of memories about him in the way he used to play and the like. So seeing him on the team sheet at Kings Park was also something, brought some nostalgia for guys who actually had a glance at him. I think first time I saw Wakabi play was in 2005. Yeah, I'm that old. 2005, I think in the British High Commission Sevens, where
in senior 5.
I don't know. Not that old. Yeah. I think Wakabi was in senior 4 at the time, and this was, I don't think there was a sevens circuit that year, but that was the highlight of all the sevens activities. British High Commission. I don't know why it was called that. Perhaps it was hosted or sponsored by the High Commission of Britain. The first memory we had was that the first game I think Namiyango played in that tournament was against Smack. And the matchup that was building up at that time was will Wakabi outpace Felix Lubega? And one of the unique things about that game, if I remember, let me see, Walakira was the number 9, Kamanyiri was the 10, I think Barasa was the center, and then what's his name? Wakabi was on the wing. The forwards, if I'm not mistaken, was Joel Anguyo, I think Kagezi, God rest his soul, and then there was a guy who was in Wakabi's year as well called Josh, if I'm not mistaken. Those are the guys who started that game. So if I remember correctly, it's a long time ago, but there was an opportunity where Wakabi got the ball in the middle. I think it could have been a switch or something. And then the matchup had all been waiting for what was going to happen. So Felix had to chase Wakabi. And Wakabi at the time, the word that goes around was that he had started rugby, but he had his fears. You know, when you start, you still fear playing also on the main team and whatever. And so that was the tagline at the time, that how is Wakabi going to manage being thrown into the deep end? But the amazing thing was that he shot off in distance and he had a big gap, but Lubega managed to close it down. And then at the time, I don't see it these days, there was this famous clothesline tackle where you pull someone, then you just clap him down.
Yeah.
So they say that Lubega pulled Lawrence, and then when he came to close him, he closed himself. So Felix just fell into the ground, and then Wakabi continued and scored under the pole. So that was the first try that he scored. That was my first time I saw him. And then eventually, with time, school finals, I think 2007 as well as 2006, he had a considerable role to play. He was an all-rounder in school. He used to play soccer and rugby. Most of the times you'd be called all-rounder when you do that. And then also the fact that he was very athletic when it came to 200 meters, 100 meters, and then the 100 by 4 relay, where the guy would exceptionally show that he was that guy. You would never beat him in a race. I remember there was this time where Keno got the baton before him. And why they call him Sailor is because he would run very, very calmly, but he didn't look like he was accelerating too fast. But for those who were being chased by him or whatever, he had that considerable pace that would eventually catch up to you, like how Sevoliva runs. Slow, but you see consistently increasing in pace. So Wakabi has always been that player. For those who watched him in high school, or even who watched his early days in club rugby, who has always been immense when it comes to his speed. I think one of the unique things about the game at Kings Park was that the ability he had in fielding. You know, Kings Park, at times it wasn't really a windy day.
It wasn't windy.
But you never know how that ball can bounce.
That should have been the first sign that it's not going to be a good day for Pirates.
Yeah, the wind was not there. You guys are not paid your jaja.
The wind was not
there. There's a team that puts on yellow that we beat on a very hot day without I don't remember the name of the team. It skips my mind sometimes.
These days you have to pay your wind guy, your rain guy. I don't know which other guy.
There's a guy of rain. The guys of rain, you know them. The rain guys.
That's when the rain comes. We change to gear too.
You're playing New Zealand, only trains.
So he fielded very well. Also uniquely was the pass. Ruben always makes fun of me that I can't pass with my left, even that Kagaya Redo. But Wakabi showed that even the left pass is still flawless as it used to be back in the day. And you could see considerably in his both attack and defense, he played his contribution quite well. I do feel that chance he got on Aturinda, he could have given us some in our glory days kind of memories where he could have gone out and just taken him for Sports Day, but I guess we'll never know that. So it was a good show seeing him after a very long time. He appears to have aged gracefully, and the fact that he could put Wanyama and Musa Muonge at odds with each other, that they missed him in the tackle, clearly shows that Felix story must be true. So it goes to show that he had game awareness. I think that was his second offload in the game. The first time when he offloaded to when Atrinda tackled him, he offloaded to Echodu.
Yeah.
And then this time he also offloaded to Juko, and then he gave out the chicken wing to Monyani. So it was a Cobs try that was orchestrated by 3 guys who managed to finish it, and then for one odd reason or another, they all went to the same school. So that's basically what I could say about him.
Yeah, well, the highlight from that particular game for Lawrence Wakabi, for those that were watching, as Bruno had said, he has not seen Conrad Wanyama miss a tackle in a while, but instead Lawrence Wakabi was able to duck a Conrad Wanyama tackle, and Conrad Wanyama instead tackled Musa Muwonge.
Yes.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
But away from Lawrence Wakabi, and now I want to ask Daniel this in particular. Looking at that weekend as we prepare to really let go of this part of the conversation, I'll put it out this way. Do you think Cobs won the game? Do you think Pirates lost the game or handed the game over? Talk about decision making in that game.
I think to a greater extent, I think Pirates lost the game, because many times towards the end of the game, Pirates was in Cobs' 22. Now, I give it up to Cobs. They have improved tremendously with their defense. I think because of Makarama, their defense is different this season, and you saw it from Uganda Cup, and you've seen it throughout the season. So yes, their defense has been really good, but there were mistakes that were made by Pirates at those crucial times that could have been easy tries. There were no cons, there were decisions that were made, which personally I don't think Damine, for example, instead of going for a penalty, we went for a line out, wanted to go for the win, yet we could have first done the easier part, getting the draw and then going for the win. Those are my personal opinions. I don't know what the players think about it or the coaches. So I feel like Pirates lost it. But I also need to give credit to the Cobs, which I rarely do. The Cobs defended very well, and I think they used their strengths more. One of the things you notice about good teams is that they really concentrate on their strengths, whether it's Heathens, whether it's Cobs, even teams, the smaller teams. If you see Impis, they will die with their kicking because they know that's why they get their points.
Even Rams
will
holding you up.
Yeah, Rams will hold you up the entire day. They hold you up the entire day. They will play quote unquote dirty. So, and I think that's sometimes what helps teams to go over the top. Although in games that are tough, you also need to change strategies within the game. For example, during the Cobs Pirates game, Pirates is a team that's very good with its hands, so they're going to move that ball, and they have enough set plays for that. A point reached where Cobs stopped pressing. What it was doing was just sliding, because they knew we can just slide. These guys are going to pass it, we slide it. They tried to beba, we are there. That's something we can manage. So they also are able to twerk that within the game. And I think from those who had the soundtrack from within the game, I think the leadership that came from Ian Munyani and Adrian also helped that to happen, because those are really in-game situations. But I think it was for Pirates to lose. In my view.
Okay.
I think even the substitution game.
Okay.
The substitutes for Hobbs came in and did what they could do, the best they could do, to save the day. If you see how Chiwalabi came in, the defense became good. Tackles increased, and the ball wasn't now moving further into the box. Even when Derek Muchiga came on, you saw how he defended. The Pirates at some point were near the try line, but it was all about swinging, but they couldn't get there. A defense that I think a new boot had to put on, because the others were a bit tired, I would say. But Muchiga came in at the right time when they needed to defend and at least draw, but not lose by a try. And I think that was a credit to their technical bench, and they had to take the day.
Okay, that's interesting. So remaining with you, Bruno, Pirates fan on loan to Cobs.
I'm not alone. I just lost a
He's
weight.
painful.
So, remaining with you on this particular topic, one thing we saw come up from Sunday to Monday to Tuesday, maybe trickling into today as well, was the online banter. It's something we have spoken about. What do you think about these past few days? Do you think, because there's where people have been, I think what they say, Bakutele say, they have been keeping you guys. You know, you guys, of course, we have Hippo's fans who are always known for their out of the line
those ones
banter,
never relax
but there is
even
no
if they
formula
lose.
for them. You don't know whether you lose, whether you win, whether they don't care.
But I also think they have funny banter. They're really funny. Their admin has very bright banter. It's kind of new.
He's a funny guy.
It's funny. Of course, some of the fans go overboard, which is normal in sports that some fans will. But the admin himself is extremely funny.
So, but Pirates fans are also notorious for bringing the sauce when they win, especially.
These guys can give.
So, this particular few days, we have seen them being put on the ropes and now given a little taste of their own medicine. Do you think there was a point where it went overboard, or is banter just banter? If you dish it, you should be able to take it.
No. One thing that we've always said here, man, banter is only nice if you're serving it. The time you're on the receiving end, you have to feel it and you have to allow it. To me, I think Pirates fans are guys who will even bookmark your tweets.
Wow.
Keep you for a season. That very night of the game.
Sounds like you're
They
talking
will
about
quote.
Jude Mugabe.
No, I won't.
Jude has that habit.
No, Jude has the best.
Edwin. They keep things for years.
But Jude still is a reader and he has nice archives. He will even outsmart you if you want to argue.
I think Jude has an account that he blocked on WhatsApp where he just puts all his.
I think that's what happened.
You just block an account on WhatsApp. You put your guys and you even favorite and say, this one is this. Okay.
That sounds
You
like
wait.
something you do.
I've been told about it. So
Have you tried it yourself, or
I'm going to try it out this
you haven't
season
yet
as
tried
well.
it?
So the Cubs banter was but
You know, even at the start-
most of the source came from Hippos.
Yeah, even at the start, you know, Cubs guys had been talked about as guys who won't banter you. It will be a game after, they'll go home. Even their cheer is not that loud during
Like
game
they had
day,
the chess
much
this
as they
weekend
attend
to
their
help them.
games. But it was way different. From the game, guys were there. I don't know where they got energy from. They were cheering right from the start. Even as players were in the tunnel, which was good for the game environment and everything. Even online, some guys were brave enough to send some banter, the Cubs guys. But I still have a feeling the Cubs guys that sent some tweets were guys who have been pained from last season because they lost home and away to Pirates. And we had them last season.
But Cops borrowed like Heathens funds and then Hippos banter. It's like they borrow things. I don't know if that's how
You
they
have
like to
money,
do.
you use it. They told you guys that they have their old rich funds.
Who take tea?
Those are
Hey,
Caesar's
drunk
ones.
on, eh.
But then there was also some boring banter, man.
Of course, there is.
I don't know if guys
Still
are just not
banter.
used to
Name
banter.
and shame.
Guys were talking
People should
about.
have-
Guys were talking about. I mean, they were fronting Queen's Park. What's that? If you,
They own it.
let me tell those guys that do Queen's Park. I'll use the Tamale Mirrors theory. It's like a guy who has been renting Bugolobi flats since the 90s.
Yeah.
And is renting a cousin's apartment.
Yeah.
But he's laughing at a former neighbor who has built a country home in Busika.
Yeah.
You can never be at the same line.
Okay.
So
won't
Queen's
tell
Park
Caesar
is just a boring banter.
So you mean tomorrow they may put a building at Legends and teams won't have where to train? Is that what you're trying
I
to
don't
say?
know about that.
The hospital mate
I was
bounce
just I was just asking. I
In
was
the
just
event
asking.
that something happens to Legends, would you guys give them an opportunity to use King's Park / Queen's Park?
They would first tell us.
The assurance is that we'd banter them. That's the first part. Before we go into letting them higher grounds.
We might just send them off to Busamba.
But we can put them at a small pitch at the side.
Yeah, we have
they
to
could
pitch
actually
it,
train
we can demarcate.
Anyway, so we are up with that.
But Banter was good. I saw
there's some people
some
that still
fan who
got
caught feelings and blocked.
Do you think it was right? Do you think they were right to do so? Because
No.
they can argue out the fact that, you know what? As you can hear what the sound that's going on, there's an announcement passing Edwin. Probably you'll attend that event that they are announcing. But anyway, going back to what
You
we're
get
saying,
yourself a VIP ticket.
you can argue out mental health in these things. So at what point do we say now it is banter, now this is mental health, now this is mental health, now this is banter?
I have a feeling
Mm.
the person who feels the pain of banter first is one who doesn't even tweet or respond. That person has swallowed the hot stone. But if you start engaging banter, meaning you are in for something hot.
And I think what people need to remember is that on social media, especially for like Twitter, the people there, you don't know each other.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know each other. So even when for example, if I'm bantering Edwin or Chuma or yourself, I know where to stop because you're my friends and I know you well. I'll say this is too far, this didn't go too far. But on social media, there is a guy who I don't know why he is. You don't know what sort of day he's having, so he's just going to go.
Breakfast.
Yeah, I know. You don't know what's happening in his life.
With dirty feet.
He has blue balls.
I can challenge some. I think if you say banter has now affected you, I can bring a tweet where you also send to them when you beat them.
Me, I'll just quote Julius Malema where he said, Twitter is very tough. If you can't handle, stay off.
Anyway, at the end of the day, man, when you feel it's too much, you first leave it.
You take a back seat.
Take a back seat.
Anyway, okay. Let's leave the Twitter conversation. I mean, coming back to you, Edwin. The Women's League culminates this weekend at the various grounds, but I think the big one is at Kings Park Arena. We have seen the Black Pearls that have been in top form. Last weekend, they played against the Avengers, the one team that has been able to give them a run for their money. The Avengers had won the Uganda Cup. The Avengers, as per our previous space, if I'm not mistaken, Coach Helen said that it had been a minute since they won a 15th game against the Avengers. But earlier in the season in Entebbe, a game that I was privileged to watch, they were able to overcome the stubbornness of the Avengers in the first half and then stretch the lead. I mean, the score could have seemed a little flattering for them, but it was quite the contest. Now, come second leg, when the Avengers made the visit to Black Pearl's home ground, the Kings Park, the Avengers came to play. And they dominated for close to 69, 70 minutes. And then it was in the last 10 minutes that that the Black Pearls actually figured out what they needed to do and what they needed to push through, of course, with the clutchness of Emily Lekuru. Yeah. But looking at that game, they are unbeaten so far. Another thing that perhaps Coach Helen has talked about is the Thunderbirds that have been their toughest opponent this season, which was a tight game in the first leg. That finding that the Thunderbirds really use a lot of their forward play, their big girls, I should say, to dominate, and that's an aspect I think that is a weakness a little bit for the Black Pearls. But they found a way to win still. So they have been unbeaten so far, and they finalize the league this weekend against Thunderbirds at Kings Park. They already have the trophy secured. But do you think that Thunderbirds can spoil that party?
Oh man, me, I'm a Chadi guy. Thunderbirds, we're going to win that game. you know, Chadi now. Chadi is wider. You get it?
Wider than
I think it's wider. Maybe it appears to be wider. Maybe I could be wrong. But KPA looks a little bit compact. Now, going into a compact field, I would really much trust the Thunderbirds to, depending on how they swing the ball after their collisions, would be very, very important. I also watched the first leg of Thunderbirds versus Black Pearls at Chadi, and you could see that when it came to scrum downs, it was totally a Thunderbirds affair. They were pushing, and they were even calling them out 1-2. If it was in the NBA, that would be a technical foul. They were like, whenever they would push them, they would say 1-2, 1-2, up to the point where they would send the ball out to their backs. So they have majority of the starters, would say. Both Avengers and Thunderbirds have the majority forwards starting for the national team. Maybe Lydia Namabiru comes in for Black Pearls, I think on the other side of the flank, but it's mostly dominated by those two clubs. So going into this game, the Thunderbirds, what they will need to regroup on particularly would be focusing on their forward dominant play, and then perhaps neutralizing the threat out wide, or when it comes to Emily, Helen, and Charlotte. Yes. The key thing now, what they would need to do, also from a perspective of Thunderbirds, is how their backs will carry the ball as well, going into contact. It's not enough to just rely on forwards all the time. They could easily tire out.
Yeah.
And considering their regime in terms of fitness, Black Pearls, even despite the fact that they were being shoved in the scrum downs, they would still come back and still contest on scrum downs. So I think that's going to be the very most important part of the game. From Thunderbird's perspective, if our forwards, the big forwards, Yvonne Najuma, Atiang, Queenie Atiang, even Patricia Anek, can push and dominate the scrum battle and open play, particularly contact, to be very, very important. And then maybe from a Black Pearls perspective, how when you're faced against a side that is quite big, how you tackle low and make sure you try your best legally to slow down the ball at the rack. That is going to be very, very important for them to be able to challenge. But I do believe that if Thunderbirds can manage the scrum collisions and open play collisions very well, they have a chance of winning that game.
Okay. Bruno, you have been particularly intentional about watching the Black Pearls whenever you had the chance this season. What has really stood out for you about those ladies and how they play the game and how they carry themselves as they go to win yet another trophy?
I'm a staunch Black Pearls fan. The biggest fun I have with the Black Pearls is how some of these girls have started rugby as I watch them. There's a point when some would be out because of school, but now they would appear back when they're in the senior 4 vacation. Now some going into the senior 6 vacation, and they are more available. And to me, I think Black Pearls from way back, like we've already said, they were more of a 7 side from the start.
Yeah.
And they've really not matched the other 2 rivals in Avengers and Thunderbirds in terms of forwards and size. You can even tell from when they're walking in the tunnel.
But wait, is it because of, especially for their forwards, is it because of like the age difference, or because you said most of them are still studying? So for the forwards, or is it just the way they recruit is different?
The recruitment and the longevity of the clubs, I think. Because if you see the forwards of Chadondo, Thunderbirds, they've been at Chadondo for some good time, based there. Thunderbirds is the oldest. Is the older in this case of Thunderbirds versus Avengers. So also it's of late that now some big forwards are coming in for the Black Pearls. But going into this game, which will be a title decided at Kings Park, I'll be there. I'll be in a Black Pearls shirt as usual.
Not a Bob's shirt.
That one is only for today.
I just need clarity on these things.
We should have even like specified the number of minutes I should be in it because
You're
But
really
you
itching.
look smart.
See, yeah, the
No,
Kobe's
no,
plus talking about black pearls.
you can't convince me.
Yeah.
All Kampala men do is lie. Yeah. So the Black Pearls game, I see Black Pearls starting the game on a higher, on a momentum. Of course, they will play from behind because they have the best pack in the league, in their league. I will see more swinging of the ball by Coach Helen towards Lekuru because you trust Emily really. If you give her the ball with her pace, even the brilliance, and the fact that she's home now, she knows. You know how they say there is a Wokorach, a Wokos corner at Chadi. There's also a
Emily
Lekuru corner at Kings Park.
Kings Park,
So I see more tries coming from that side. And to me, if the Black Pearls play from behind and score like 3 or 4 tries, maybe in the first half, they will have won the game because they can defend. Or it's more of concentrating on the forwards because Thunderbirds have a perfect forward. The forwards who even play for the national team, all of them. So it will be good tackles, and Black Pearls have the tacklers. Helen will tackle you very well. Charlotte will tackle you. Lydia will tackle you. Rachel Mfoa will tackle you. Grace Auma will tackle you.
Yeah.
So I see them tackling more and not giving them more space into gaining meters into the box, which will make them tired. And now they can start swinging. They can start swinging, and Emily will have fun in the game.
You know, one of the mistakes the Black Pearls made during the game against the Avengers is that I think because of the pressure of the game, they were going for PDs. Now that's not the Black Pearls game. So I think either the pressure of the game or they were drawn into it. You know how sports sometimes someone draws you into playing what they're playing.
Yeah.
It was until those last minutes where they remembered, no, this is not actually how we play.
And
we don't need PDs. We need to move our ball, swing it, get spaces, and run. And we got 3 tries in about
to
11
me,
minutes.
With their strength of the back and speed and tackles, they have started on a higher note.
Yes.
They start with momentum because they relaxed at the start of the game and Avengers were taking them in the last game. Not until now, some forwards and centers got tired, the Avengers centers and forwards, and now they could swing and have fun. Because the comeback was like in the 71st minute.
Wow.
You can imagine. So I trust Coach Helen and the technical team there, and they are training hard, that I can assure you. And to me, I see Black Pearls defending the title.
Okay, that's interesting.
No, but this is not a wager. You guys might get me in a scratch.
Man has wager PTSD right now. But anyway, one thing before we leave this particular topic, and I just want to throw it out there for whoever thinks they have a thought about it. 4 teams in the women's league. One of them they use really out here just to get more exposure, very, very young girls. But credit to Rams who took the initiative to have a women's side, and that's so great. So they've and that's the use will be traveling to Entebbe to face the Avengers. They have not won a single game, and they have been really conceding big. But that's not the problem. The problem is how are we going to be able to add more teams to this women's league? Maybe 6, maybe 8, so that these teams can actually get a test of what an actual league is like. Perhaps playing 14 games in a season if you're 8 teams. And how would we build more women's teams? How do we build the player base of women's rugby in Uganda?
There needs to be a drive. There needs to be a drive, an aggressive drive towards having women's rugby considered majorly from union perspective. They did well last year by making it a force. They gave them their tournament and managed to push it as much as they could. And I think also now it comes down to the male clubs as well. If we could have, for example, a side now in Ginger, I may be naive or wrong. There may be a women's side in Ginger, but if we could have the clubs in Ginger set up something, we know in Bali there's a club, have Cobs is working around, I think Panthers, something like that. If we can have as many clubs coming up with teams that women can join in, then it also brings in the question of how the schools can also enter and contribute to the discussion. So it just comes down to those particular aggressive things, and then seeing how once there's a big market for that, then we could have sponsors jump on board.
Yeah, I also think even from a schools league perspective, having to entice more schools to take part in women's, or let's say girls rugby. I mean, Mr. Busyman the other time was telling us a story about how he was trying to convince the ladies of Nabisunsa to play rugby, but then the support wasn't there. So I think that's also another aspect that the authorities need to really dig into. That how do we avail some resources, some personnel to be able to go have a conversation with these schools, be able to also hold clinics. It can even start with just tag rugby, touch rugby, and then start growing from schools. And schools doesn't necessarily mean only secondary. It can be from primary level with tag rugby going up into secondary. But I feel like with what you have said, and maybe with schools schools rugby, it would be a good avenue, because that's I think one of the things that really did not sit right with me, that why do we have a league of only 4 teams, and that is a national league? So it just didn't sit right with me. Granted, there are some other regional competitions as well, but definitely the stronger ones are here in the central. Yeah, but anyway, I think now we just need to jump a little bit into the sevens. We have particularly had a team released, just to maybe peruse through it. Ian Arnold Munyani, who's there, Desire Ayera, Alex Aturinda, Michael Okorach, Norbert Sexton, Okeny, Adrian Casito, Aaron Oforoth, Timothy Kisiga, Dennis Etwao, Mubarak Wandera, Hosanna Opeleni, Timothy Mugisha, William Lukwago, Yasin Waiswa, Otai Ivan, Aaron Tuke, Philip Okorach, Alan Olango, Mark Osuna. Daniel, I don't know if you've had a chance to pay attention to the sevens, but what really has caught your eye about the sevens team that has been released?
I think one of the things they have tried to do in the setup that they have, the people that they have called for the training, is they are trying to have a bit more inclusiveness, to bring more players on board. I think the idea is to have a bigger pool of sevens players.
Yeah.
If you noticed, last year, one of the things teams were complaining about, especially those that didn't have people in the setup, I had a couple of Hippos fans and Impies complaining about how their players were having stellar 7 seasons, yet they hadn't been called to the setup. Probably the union sat down with the coaches and said, let's bring these ones in a bit more. Let's give them a chance to play and see if indeed what they say are selectiveness of who they take to be true. We were fortunate enough to see some who are included in the last invitational sevens.
Yeah.
And I think they played well.
Yeah, they played well.
Alleviate us losing, I think they played well. They also got that experience. So, and in general, of course, it's good for rugby. If you notice, most of the players that go for the sevens training come back much better players in terms of ability to tackle, the ability to pass the ball,
And the
the
brilliance.
ability to think in
overall
very
confidence.
and the confidence in which they play. So
Plus the fitness.
plus the fitness, of course. They are very, very, very fit players. So I think the selection was okay. Every team had major players being taken from it, be it Pirates, Cobs, Events, Hippos, Impies. Everyone had a few players who have been taken from it, and so it's going to be interesting to see the last 12, I believe, who will go. We know they are last 11 actually, because there's Phil who's already going.
So
they are 11, yes.
Constant.
Out of the 18, we wonder how many of the 11 will be taken.
Yeah. There's one thing that has been echoing. Actually, it's no longer echoing. It's really being sung. Now that we're not going to have the sevens players feature for the clubs until I don't know when, but Pirates fans are seeming to complain or say that they contribute a lot to that sevens team, which on the other hand leaves them depleted with many of their key players for the league. What are your thoughts about that, Bruno? Do you think that's a valid cause? Do you think, especially with Pirates now in the run for the league title, do you think that's a valid call from Pirates fans to say, or should there be players ready to take up the mantle as and when many other players are called upon?
I think one thing that maybe a club or club management or the technical bench would be proud of is seeing the boys, most of the boys that they've been training, get national team call-ups. It's just good for the club. Well, the technical bench would be proud of that. Then also, these are our boys. Some of them are our friends. I mean, we would be happy for them also if they got call-ups. If there is any player starting out and is more determined at playing rugby, one thing that if you asked him or her, what do you look up to in this game of sport that you're choosing, he will tell you, maybe one day I dream to represent my country. So a call-up is pride for the player. I'm sure the parents are really happy because most of these boys are young.
Yeah.
You can imagine how old Chisiga got his first call-up. His big brothers were really happy.
Was 18.
Exactly.
And Kisiga was also 18 because he joined the year before Desire and is probably a year older than Desire.
So I believe the complaint. Pirates have been the biggest contributors to the sevens national team, but I don't know if my fellow fans will be happy saying this. I'm saying it not because I'm in a Cobs jersey, but I think the pain of contributing more boys to the national team is seeing at the possibility of who will go in their spaces.
Yeah.
You can imagine someone that will move and shake the defense like Alex Atrinda has been doing. Someone that will carry the ball like Desire Ayera has been doing. Not like we don't have other players. We have brilliant players. The fans are complaining because they are like, now who? No, but all they have to do is keep calm. They should know some players are coming back. Massa is coming back into the game. He's now okay. We have another player making a major return. I won't say his name.
We saw.
So it's I don't think it's all about worry really. Players are just, the fans are worried, but Pirates has never suffered with numbers. It's just you trust the coach and the management and the technical bench to play the boys, to get them ready mentally and fit enough to play the roles that the big boys have been playing. And to me, I don't see a really big gap. I still see, even with the 4 going, let's see if all the 4 are selected, but I believe they will be. I still see Pirates winning some of their games. Actually, most of their games. All their games. Until the boys return.
Even Shadi.
The DNA of the coach chat is working.
Even Shadi.
Yes.
Yeah.
But by the time we play Heathens, I think they will be back.
No.
Will they be allowed to play? It
I don't
seems they're
think
out
they'll
for
be
the
back.
entire season.
They won't be back by the time Heathens play Cobb.
They'll
Which
be
will
back
be on
even when we
Fool's
play them, but whether they will allow them to play is
And that's the thing. But
another
still,
thing
I see
altogether.
Pirates winning the games with a bonus point.
Just to add to what he has said, it's a bit of a catch-22 because the players that we have in the 7th setup, some of them have become as good as they are because they're in the 7th setup.
Right.
For example, Alex has improved tremendously in this 1 year that he has really gone for the tournaments. Of course, I think he started being in the setup from 2021,
Yeah.
but then he was just training. But this year that he has played, he has like gone off. And even if you see Desire, Kisiga, William, all those who have been there, they played differently.
Mubarak now.
Mubarak now. One of the reasons they play differently is because they have been in the 7 setup. So
Yeah.
it's a bit of, if they were not there, would they be as good as they are now that we have
Exactly.
them? And of course, as you had mentioned earlier, we all know that, again, to be honest, club rugby doesn't have much funds. A lot of times players play this sport because they love it, and because maybe they want to win in Uganda, want to win something, and that they can take out of rugby, which is different to the national team. It has a bit more funds, and players are able to get quite the sum of money vis-a-vis what they get. From a fans' perspective, you'd love them to be there. But then you look at it from their own perspective of, if I was a player and had this opportunity, then what would I do? So I think that's where we are. But again, as Bruno has mentioned, the people who are there to play are good enough. They are not as good as the ones who have gone. That one will be very honest. But if they pushed, they could actually have very good results.
And
we
it
believe that's
applies,
what's
it
going to
applies
happen.
to all the call-ups and the rest.
Yeah.
their
Yeah, in all the
respective
teams,
clubs.
it's not only
It
us.
does
all.
not
I mean,
necessarily
at-
mean that it's only Pirates that is
That has
doing
lost.
Exactly.
No.
You can imagine how Aaron has been instrumental in all the games of Heathens.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he has to go.
Then their captain is also going. Mike
Wokos
will
is also
probably
going.
Then
Now
their
you
top
ca-
scorer
you-
of tries,
Exactly.
Sexton, is also going. So
Now you might say, Heathens are going to struggle. And I'm sure they won't. They have the numbers. You just have to trust the bench, rather the management and what they will do with the available talent, and they will bring results on the pitch. Because either way, it's not the first time to happen.
And not
This
the
has
last, I
happened
believe.
always, bro.
Yeah. I think one of the things, Edwin, we need to look at as we start to think about closing is Schools League. Just to touch on it a little bit. This particular weekend, we'll be having Hannah versus London College. We'll be having...
Where is the game?
Yeah?
Where is the game?
It's going to be at Hannah. Marcos versus Budo, that will be at Graveyard Makere, and St. Peter's Nalia taking on Light Academy. That will be at Kings Park, where they host their games from. But the big one, the Emiliango makes a trip to Entebbe Road. To Chisuvi.
That's the one I want to watch.
Smack.
I have
Fireworks.
To be there. I have to be
First tell us, just like in a few minutes, like a story about you and your experience with Smack. I know you have played them a lot more than I did.
especially Ngo being away.
How hostile is the environment for a young player in high school?
Aye, man, nerves can bang you. I remember, actually, also me, the first major time I played against Mark was in my S6. That was in sevens. We reached the final, and it had the team had players like Daniel Ortega, Ivan Magoma at the time, Kasule, Achila. I don't know where that guy is right now, and our team at the time was a little bit depleted. We lost 2 players in the semi-final against Eaglets, the Smack junior team. I don't know if they came to deliberately injure our guys or what, but we also entered the final when we were a little bit short. Dexter, I think, had his jaw kind of dislocated, and then Fanuel, I think, got an issue with his leg. So we came up, we played rather not how we would want to play, and long story short, we lost that game. But the thing about Smack is that once you put your marker down as a school or as a team, their fans will keep quiet. Standard. Once you put the marker down very early into the game, they will always keep quiet. They will have nothing to say. They will just keep quiet. They will just maybe shout praises when you hit someone or whatever. But at that point, they will allow that these guys are beating us. So for Namiango's sake, all they need to do is just go there and lay the dominance in the first 15, 20 minutes. And then that's when they can get the points that they want. From also, now you have to consider the fact Entebbe, it's a little bit hot, not necessarily humid per se, maybe even dry air. So I don't know how the guys will be training for it. And Smack, their thing is that they are rather fast when it comes to, is it Kashera rugby or something? They are very fast on the racks and pull the ball out very quickly. The fact they're at home, they'll be making a lot of noise. So we have to prepare ourselves for an environment where you have to be very, very calm. And as all school games go, the key thing is to maintain composure in such games. These are games that are determined by 3 points, 5 points, 2 points, 1 point. So decision making is very, very important when it comes to both teams. There may be pressure on either side to lay the marker very quickly, but whenever the team that always shows the most composure in defense and attack always wins those games.
Okay.
But usually, sorry to cut you. Usually, what happens, like what happens in a game, especially like at the beginning, where as a player or even as someone watching from outside, do you say this is going to be a very long day today?
Yeah. Why it's going to be a long day is there usually are three things that can happen. One, your star player can get hit properly, and then the other fans start.
Yeah.
You get it? The fans start. And I think the most beautiful thing about schools rugby are the chants.
Yeah.
The chants. I think that's why I would also want to go and watch that game on Sunday. The chants are epic.
Right.
So when they bang your guy, man, the whole school starts chanting. They'll say, we're winning, baddie boy. I'm like, man, what's up? I'm really this bad? What's up? Yeah, so it's very best. So when your star player gets hit, that first tackle, and you know high school, they really want you to carry and take him through the guy. So when you tackle the guy and you put him down, guys are like, yeah, that's our guy. Then a moment of skill or brilliance, a handoff, a sidestep. Now, those are the things that are going to make guys go crazy.
Yeah.
And as a side that is playing at Smack, you have to be very, very composed because, man, even me, I remember, Magom dust me on the wing. Just 6. Oh, man. I feel so embarrassed. He dust me on the wing, then he passed to the wing outside and they went and scored a try. So it shows you that when it comes to playing at Smack, you have to be very, very composed. Keep calm. It's very, very important that you keep calm no matter what the score is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just let us know your predictions about that game.
Namiliang, obviously, I think it will be the score of like 17-8. It will be more than it will be a 2-score game win for Namiliango. Smack will have to score twice to win that game. I don't see them have a chance of winning that game.
Gentlemen, do you care to put in your predictions for that? Bruno, you're not having a really good record, but
I've not been watching schools rugby really. I haven't watched it in a long time. The game I was supposed to watch, I ended up going for the under-20 national team trials.
I thought you had clothes to wash.
Oh, I was busy in the weekend.
Weekend girlfriend,
No, but I'll instead predict the league games.
okay.
I'll start with the.
We're going to talk about the league games.
Okay.
All right. Now, as we finalize this, let's just really jump into the league. There's been considerable reshuffles. At the top, we see now it's the Cobs in the lead. The Heathens have crept into second position. I'm sure they were banking for that loss against for the Pirates. That's why they probably sent the chest they chased them away from the main game to go and watch the other game.
Yeah.
Pirates in third, and then at the bottom, also considerable change now. We're seeing Rhinos after that very big win against Mongers. Leapfrog Rams into 9th position, with Rams going to 10th. Mongers, for some reason, have not been consistent, and they have mostly been poor. They find themselves in 8th. The Barbarians, as Coach Leo told us, they are hardlining on perhaps going up, but if all comes to the worst, they want to stick to that 7th position. And then the middle of the pack sees Impis, who yet again lost to the Buffaloes, in 4th. The Hippos in 5th. They seem to be now getting their stride going. And then the Buffaloes also got a vital win in 6th. So, looking at these particular scores, these particular standings, I want just a couple of predictions from you. Bruno, I'll start with you on that regard.
Okay.
Yeah. Thoughts on the particular. You had some games you wanted to start with in mind, so I don't want to affect your rhythm. Let's go with.
I'll start with my game. Pirates will host Impis. I see a Pirates win with a bonus point. Can I predict the score?
Yeah, you're welcome if you want. I just told you one thing. Keep in mind, your record is not the best right now.
32-11.
32-11.
Yeah.
Okay.
With a bonus point, proper.
Yes.
All kicks
Proper
everywhere.
Proper one.
Okay.
Okay.
the others I can just say the
Cobs
results.
Rhinos.
Cobs Rhinos. Rhinos just got they haven't been performing well. They got their first win of the season just last weekend over the Mongas. But still Cobs are now on another level. They're at the top. They can't afford to drop and they can't afford to lose or even win without a bonus point. So they are giving them the game. The Cobs score will be in the 50s.
Okay, Danny, do you see Walukuba upsetting the Heathens at Chadondo?
Why are you guys laughing?
Why are you guys laughing? Why are you laughing?
No, I'm laughing because the way Waluku was going to beat Heathens. It's going to be why are you guys laughing? Why are you guys laughing? I just
get your laughter.
Now anyway, I hope Waluku can make one try. I think that will be something for them to do.
Okay.
But they had a very nice highlight over the weekend. There's a guy they Kubeba and gave furniture. I don't know if you guys saw the clip.
Waluku actually good.
Waluku, they call them the gym team. I don't know why they call them the gym team, but it seems
they're ever working out.
So Coach Leo said that he's targeting 1 point from that game, which means a losing bonus point. That is, I credit him for being somewhat realistic. But it also it poses a task that he has to keep his side in line with whatever Heathens will put on the board. Keep in mind, all three of the top teams now are thinking points, bonus point.
Points, bonus point. Win, bonus point.
Yeah, so Edwin, I'm going to ask you to give me your thoughts about Buffaloes and Mongas.
Oh, that's
Mongas
a nice
make
game.
the trip to Chadondo.
Yeah, that one, Buffaloes beat Impis. Mongas a little bit faltering. But I think they will try to put up competition in this one. Why I remember that, what was it called? Is it warm-up sevens? Where Mongas came and smashed Buffaloes at Chadi. So I think we'll get our small revenge there. Buffaloes will manage to beat. Ivan Odiambo went and told the Impis crowd to shh. So we expect more of that this weekend. We won't have Aaron 2K, but we do believe we have sufficient cover at the back. As long as our forwards can match up to the Mongas forwards and they're neutralized, I think we'll take that game.
Yeah, a lot of responsibility in the hands of Ivan Odiambo, especially in the absence of Aaron 2K, who has been very instrumental. And then I think I'll personally just talk about the Hippos and Rams. Really, it has been... I had a conversation with Coach Lumu, who spoke about the challenges. I think hinting on what we spoke about in the space, how teams in the lower tier of the table are always... You could say they pick a lot of players from them, which affects their development. Sometimes many of these players want to go to the bigger side, so they find themselves in a rebuild almost all the time. But they make the tough trip to Jinja to play the Hippos who are off a win against Walukuba. I don't see them getting that win, in my opinion. I think the Hippos will be winning that one. Basically that's with predictions. So before we close, I'm just going to give you about a few seconds to just let us know, for those who are wondering who Daniel Avasa is, tell us a little bit about yourself, then we can perhaps tell the people bye-bye.
Yes, as I said, I'm Avasa Daniel. I work with the Ministry of Education and Sports. I'm an avid rugby fan and Pirates fan. What people don't know though is that the first team I supported was Heathens.
I knew that, but I never want to say it.
The long story short was because in my A level, there's a guy who came from Mugo who was my friend. He used to talk about Cobs a lot.
Okay.
And so, but I got so tired of it. So I said, but why don't I support Heathens? Purely because it was like revenge sex. So that's what it was. I think one of the things that preoccupies me, of course, is rugby in terms of thinking about it, how the game can grow, how we can help players, and how generally as a sport in Uganda it can go to greater heights.
Okay, that's
and
great.
Party?
And
Party?
which party? Political party or no party? What's
Also preoccupies me.
I socialize a lot. I like people.
All right. It's been a wonderful one. We could have spoken a lot, but our time has reached to go for our evening snack at the Fred and Winnie BnB. The Fat Cats here, along with Daniel Avasa. We thank you for being a part of this. We always say, always connect with us on our various social media platforms. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell the world. And we have our weekly spaces as well. So much coming up. So look forward to that. As we also approach a few months from now, we shall be approaching our 1 year anniversary of the podcast, Candid Rugby Conversations. So look out for that as well. And see you next week, and the weekend, of course, for those that we meet around. Cheers.